All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everybody. All right, I'm seeing my people hopping on, and I'm going to ask you just to tell me where you are joining us from at this time. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. So just go ahead and remind your friends, remind your family that we are live. We are live. So remind your friends and your family that we are streaming live and share with us where you are logging on from. So we are here from Step by Step Consultancy this afternoon, everyone. And I am so happy to have you on again. My name is Novlet Simmonette from Step by Step Consultancy, and I'm happy to have you on at this time. So please remember to share with your friends our YouTube channel. Let them know that we are live at this time. Okay, we will be getting started officially in another 2 minutes. We'll be starting officially in another 2 minutes. So remember to put in the chat where you are watching us from. Remember to share with your friends. Let your friends know that we are on because I don't want our special guest to start without many persons being on. Although most of you usually go back to watch it. All right, I'm seeing Kenisha from North Carolina. Welcome, Kenisha. Let us know where you are watching us from. Remember to share with your friends. Let them know that we are on, okay? Share the link with your friends and let them know that we are on live this afternoon. We are coming to you live from Step by Step Consultancy in the Phoenix area. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone. Welcome, good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon. So I'm going to get going because Mr. Maxwell has a lot to share with you this afternoon. Welcome, Tamara from Mississippi. I'm happy to have you. So this afternoon we have with us on our live Mr. Ryan Maxwell, and he is a CPA, a certified public accountant. And so this young man has done a lot of studies to reach where he is this afternoon. And I want you to, give him a round of applause because he is doing a great job. And we want to make him know that we appreciate the work that he is doing to helping Jamaicans, and not only Jamaicans, but anyone else who may be struggling or having problems doing their taxes. He is here to help you to sort it out. Again, welcome to our live this afternoon. And we have with us no other than our own Ryan Maxwell. Again, my name is Novlet Simmonette, and I am coming to you from Step by Step Consultancy. Step by Step Consultancy is a teacher recruiting agency, an international agency where we recruit teachers and we place them in different classrooms here in the United States because we don't want our children to struggle. So we bring teachers in and those teachers help to fill the gap. Once more, my name is Novlet Simmonette. And at this time, I am going to hand over to Mr. Maxwell. And before I do, please remember, if you have questions, he will be taking questions at the end of his presentation. And ask him questions. He will tell you his phone number or email address. And just in case you don't get it, you can always reach out to me. I have his email number and I have his email and I have his contact number. Again, I want you to help me to make welcome Mr. Ryan Maxwell.
All righty, let me try to share my screen again. Um so I can I have a little presentation up for you guys again. Um Let me try to share my screen. Share screen. Entire screen. Can you see my screen now? Can you see my screen? I think I'm on mute. I don't know how I got on mute. We were fine and everything. Ah, my God. All right. I don't know how I got on mute. You're mute. You're mute.
Okay, thank you. I
Yes.
did not
Yes.
realize I was muted.
Yes.
Yes.
You were mute.
All
I'm not
right.
sure.
Thank you.
I was trying to share my screen.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me try to share my screen again.
All right. So they were saying they were hearing me, but not the presenter.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, great. All right. So yeah, thank everyone for joining. Let me just thank everyone for joining. Again, thank Ms. Simmonette for welcoming me back again. We did a presentation probably like a couple months ago, and that was a very extensive presentation where we kind of walk you through your filing status, the tax treaty exemption, FICA exemption. So this presentation, I want to because we're right in the middle of the tax season, so I want to kind of prepare you guys for a little tax refresher. And so we're going to touch on some of those other stuff, but this is more like a tax refresher stuff that we need to look out for with regards to this filing season. And so again, like Ms. Simmonette said, my name is Ryan Maxwell. I've been doing taxes for a number of years. Originally from Jamaica, went to school at Glenmore High School. Then I got a football scholarship, went to the University of Tampa where I studied accounting, got my master's and bachelor's in taxation. Then I sit for the CPA exam. A lot of you guys probably familiar with the ACCA. I think that's what they have it in Jamaica. But in the United States, they got the Certified Public Accounting exam. Certification. That's where you have to have a master's in accounting. You have to work under a CPA firm for a year, and you have to pass 4 rigorous exams to actually get that certification as a certified public accountant. So, my background has prepared me well for talking to you guys about taxation. And so I started out in Florida and then, working at CPA firms, learning how to do taxes for international teachers and partnership and individuals. And I got a good background in all taxation, but my main focus is on the international teachers. And I've been doing that for a number of years. So, I moved to Atlanta, and so that's where my firm is based, where I help international teachers. 95% of my clients are international teachers, so I'm very familiar with this area of taxation. Whatever. All right. So I'm gonna jump into the presentation. So again, we already did an extensive presentation. Like I said, this one is going to be like a review. So most of the teachers, you guys, I'm assuming are probably going to be from like Jamaica, the Philippines, India. I work with a lot of those teachers, and those teachers come from what is called a tax treaty country, right? So back in the 80s, Jamaica signed a tax treaty with the US of how they're going to tax their residents. And so the United States has tax treaty with like 67 different countries. And so fortunately, Jamaica was one of those countries that was able to secure a tax treaty. And so a special rule in the tax treaty says if you're a teacher and you come to work in the United States, we're not going to tax a teacher for 2 years. It's a 2-year special treatment where, whatever tax is being taken out of your paycheck, once you file your tax return, you get that back, right? So that's really good and really good. And it does not apply to like your J2 or your H4. This only applies to teachers. So I get this question all the time. Teachers are asking me, "Oh, do my husband or my dependent get this special treatment?" No, it's only for teachers. And so when you're getting ready to file your tax return, you want to make sure that you're talking to somebody that actually understand that special treatment where you're qualified for. So that's the first question that you need to ask the tax preparer. Are you familiar with the tax treaty exemption rule as it relates to my country. You know, whether you're from the India or Philippines or Barbados or Trinidad, that's the first question that you should ask your tax preparer. Are you familiar with the tax treaty exemption as it relates to my country? All right. And then a lot of people here, as you can imagine, in the United States, right? They focus on U.S. citizens and green card holder because those are the massive amount of people that does tax return here. It's a very small niche people that does non-resident tax return like you guys. So if you go to somebody that not familiar with a non-resident and ask them about tax treaties and Jamaican teacher tax return, they're gonna look at you crazy. They're just gonna just file your tax return as if you're a normal U.S. citizens and green card holder. And if they do that, your tax return is gonna be wrong. You're gonna be filing on the wrong form because there's a separate form that you need to file non-resident tax return on versus what you file U.S. citizens and green card holder on. So I get this all the time. You know, I have two teachers, you know, coming from Jamaica, and one will say, Mr. Maxwell, oh, my friend, both of them are in their first and second year. And they will tell me, oh, Mr. Maxwell, my friend has a dependent, a child, and she was able to do this and she was able to do that. And I just be looking at my, because I know the answer to that question is your friend did her tax return wrong. She ended up filing on the U.S. citizen and green card holder tax return form while you file on a non-resident form. And so because she filed the wrong form, what's going to happen is, you know, she's going to get back all of this money, and then 2 years or 3 years when she spent all that money, the IRS is going to send her a letter for she to send back all of that money, right? So you got to be careful with who. I guess my biggest point here is they got to be careful that, you know, there's different filing status between U.S. citizens and green card holder, and you need to talk to somebody that understand the non-resident rules, right? That's what I want to convey here. All right. So again, make sure your tax preparer is familiar with the tax treaty exemption as it relates to your country. And so you have teachers, you know, very smart. They did it they did their tax return in year one, and they think that, okay, they're good. They feel like they can do it in year two. And when that's fine. Whenever you try to do your tax return, just make sure the tax software that you're using actually does non-resident tax return. So like TurboTax and these other tax software, they don't do non-resident tax return. So automatically your tax return is going to be done incorrectly. And so make sure, you know, if you do decide to do it by yourself, make sure you sign it, you date it. The person, if somebody's doing your tax return for you, make sure that you get a copy of it. What you're gonna see happen is sometimes somebody does your tax return for you and they do not give you a copy. I get this all the time when I'm looking at people tax return from last year. Somebody did their tax return and just tell them, hey, you're getting back $2,000. There's no support or whatever in it. They just give them a tax return and say, hey, you're getting back $2,000 and take my word for it. And $2,000 is gonna land in your bank account, right? No, you need to have a copy of your tax return to show that, okay, yes, I'm actually getting back $2,000. And so what people do is sometimes they're getting back money. And so because they charge this big old fee, right? That $2,000, they're getting back $2,000. They charge like big old fee, like $500 or so. So when that person actually get their money, it's not really the $2,000. It's like, you know, $1,500 or $1,200. So what I'm getting at is you need to have a copy of your tax return once a person do your tax return. That's your record to show that you file a tax return, right? And again, I think I touched on this point already. You need to avoid tax software that does not, if you do decide to do it by yourself, you need to avoid tax software that does not do international teacher tax returns.
May I ask you a question, Mr. Maxwell? When you say those software, what are you speaking about?
So all right. So you have a tax software like TurboTax. You're familiar with TurboTax? That's like a tax software, and you got other software. You got TurboTax. You got Free File USA. You got all these different tax software that people use to help them file their tax return. That's what I mean by that, right?
Okay.
And so those software, they don't cater to non-resident filing. you have to definitely do some research to try to find the one that actually does non-resident filing. So automatically, if you even try to do your tax return by using one of those software, automatically that's going to be wrong, because you're going to be filing as a you're going to be filing as a resident versus what you need to file as a non-resident. What I'm trying to get at.
Okay, got you.
All right, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so if you do decide to, to do your tax return by yourself, make sure you review it to make sure that your social security number is correct, your address. You want to make sure that you signed it before it actually send it off, because if you do decide to, if you miss one of these information, this is going to slow down your refund, and so you don't want that to happen, because that's just going to delay the process. And those software that you're using, make sure you're able to. It's better to file your tax return electronically than try to fill it out by hand and paper copy. It's just way more easier, way more faster, way more secure if you try to do electronic than try to do a paper copy, right? And so also, some people, sometimes they're old school, they want to get a check. No, you want to make sure that you put your banking information on the tax return so you can get, direct deposit. The IRS is switching. Almost everyone now has to put a bank account information on a tax return to get direct deposit into their account. And so you want to do that too. You don't want to check, because if you get a check that can get lost in the mail, you don't want to go to the hassle of trying to talk to the IRS about where is your refund and all that stuff. So just set up direct deposit if you do decide to file your tax return by yourself. And then be prepared, if this is your first time filing, your tax preparer is going to be taking some sensitive information from you, right? So they're taking your social, your date of birth, your license, your bank information. These are just stuff that we need to prepare your tax return. So make sure that the person that you're working with is a person of integrity. And so, you're confident giving them your information. And then the sooner you file, the faster you get your refund, right? And so again, you just want to make sure you work with somebody that understands the tax treaty exemption and somebody that understands non-resident rule. And so my responsibility as a tax preparer is to make sure that your tax return is done correctly, right? I get people all the time coming to me, Mr. Maxwell, oh, I want big refund. I always cut them off right there and tell them, hey, listen, my job is to make sure that your tax return is done correctly. If you get back $1 million, great. If you owe $1 million, great to me. That's not responsibility, right? My responsibility is to make sure I'm looking at all of your information and taking into consideration all of your deduction that you're eligible for, and file a correct tax return. And if you owe, then you owe. And if you get back a refund, fine. My job is done once I know that the tax return is done correctly, right? So as you can imagine, if you go to somebody and tell them, hey, I just want to make sure I get back a big refund. If that person is very fraudulent, like most people, you know what they're going to do? They're going to inflate your tax return, make you get back this big refund that you're not eligible for. Then they're going to charge you a big fee. And then later on down the line, 2 or 3 years, when you spend that money off, you're going to get a letter from the IRS saying that you need to pay back that money. Not only that, but you have to pay interest and penalty. So be careful when you're going to somebody telling them, hey, make sure I get back a big refund. They can, if they're not person of integrity, they can fraudulently do some shady stuff in your tax return just to please you, and that's not in your best interest. So just be careful when you make those statements to people. Right. All right. So yeah. So I just kind of prepare something really quick, because last time I think we did like a heavy lift in terms of what non-resident and tax filing and all that stuff. But again, we're in the middle of the tax season that starts in the third week of January, and it's going to go through until April 15th. So if you guys haven't filed it, now is the time to file. You have until April 15th to file. So make sure you gather your W-2. You should have already gotten that from the district. If you haven't got that from the district, you need to reach out to the district payroll department and get a copy of your W-2. But yeah, so we got a lot of time, so now we can probably jump into some questions or kind of dive into some areas that mostly interest the people that are on.
All right. So at this time, if you have any questions to ask, you can text your questions in quickly, and he will answer those questions. But as he has said, make sure that you have your correct documents to submit to your tax preparer, because it can be a problem if it is filed incorrectly. So you want to make sure that you have the correct documents. All right. Any question from anyone? All right. So you have anything else you want to share, Mr. Maxwell,
Um,
while they
yeah,
think about the
yeah. I'm
questions? Go
just
ahead.
Yeah, so again, it's very important. So what I realize is that okay, another thing that I didn't touch in the last session that I think is very important. So most people, I hear this all the time. There's a complaint about the insurance, the marketplace insurance. So the sponsor insurance that you guys have, I hear a lot of complaint that the sponsor insurance is not good, or it's not enable you guys to do certain things whenever you have any medical issues. And so most people opt to take the healthcare marketplace insurance. And so that insurance is a government subsidized insurance. So you got to be careful whenever you signed up for that insurance, right? It's a government subsidized insurance. And what they do is based on your income, the government kind of subsidize the insurance. They kind of help you pay for that insurance premium. And so if they end up helping you more than they should, they're gonna take back some. You have to pay back some of that premium. And how you pay back some of that premium is by they take some of your refund. So you got to be careful whenever you sign up for that health insurance. The best way to do it is to make sure that you're paying at least majority of that premium. If you're making substantial money, $60,000, $50,000, the government is not going to fully pay for your insurance if you're making that money, because they're saying that person that makes $50,000, $60,000 can't afford to pay for their own insurance. They don't need the government to help them pay for that insurance. So what I find out is I start filing, a lot of people take that insurance and they didn't understand what they were getting themselves into. So again, if you sign up to the healthcare marketplace and get that insurance, it's a government subsidized insurance. And so make sure that you're paying at least on the premium. Because some people, when they sign up for that insurance, they don't pay any of the premium. They opt to have the government pay the entire premium. And so again, if the government end up paying for somebody that can afford to pay for their insurance, you guys would have to pay back that insurance. And the way you pay back is because they take out some of that insurance from your refund that you're eligible for. So just be careful with that insurance. Just make sure that you're paying some of the premium if you do decide to take it out. That's one of the things that I noticed so far, because we've been filing already, and we have that issue. A lot of people is not understanding that insurance. So hopefully you guys are aware of that insurance. Again, and so I have teachers again that they do like Uber and they do Lyft and they do DoorDash and they do Spark, and they're not understanding that these are business, these are self-employed income. It's like, so it's separate from the district where you work, right? Where the district take out taxes out of your paycheck and send it to the IRS or send it to the state. Uber and Lyft and Spark and DoorDash, they don't take any taxes out of your paycheck. If you're supposed to get $1,000 for that day or that 2 weeks, you get $1,000 straight up, right? It's going to be your responsibility as a self-employed person to pay the tax that's associated with that income. So, they make all this money by driving, and then, they make 50,000, 60,000, 40,000 of driving. And so you'll have to pay tax on that 40,000, 50,000, 30,000 that you earn, because again, none of that was taken out to send to the IRS to cover the potential tax. You would have to pay that tax once you file your tax return. So again, you guys understand people are doing side hustle, trying to make money. Nothing is wrong with that, but I just want you to be aware that beware of
Mm-mm.
consequences when you try to do those stuff. So you
Um,
can do
pause
this.
for pause for a moment, Mr. Maxwell, because this is live and I just want to make the corrections to that. If you are here on a H-1B visa or a J-1 visa, it is not okay for you to do by law. And let me say that by law, it is not okay for you to drive Uber or Lyft because that would have been called a side hustle because you're employed by the school district. In your employment agreement, you cannot work outside of the school district unless it is within the school district at some other school in the school district. But if you are driving Lyft or Uber and you're a teacher, let me make that clear, and you're a teacher, then that is not by law, it is illegal. So I just want to make this
Yeah,
clear
yes, yes,
as we
yes. And
put
I
this
get that
out
part of it.
there.
Yes. And I'm just
And
telling you the tax side of it
oh,
because
right.
I
I know you're
see.
telling, yeah, I know you're talking about the tax side to it, but I want to make it clear so that when it goes out there and anybody listen to it, they'll understand that that is not right. But I know that you're giving people the information because
Mhm.
you are doing their taxes, if you're doing their taxes, but
Right.
it is not okay. A question is here in the chat though. The person says, I'm on a H-1B work permit. How do I get on an ITIN, the
Right.
ITIN, to
Yes, the
file
ITIN.
for her?
Right. So the ITIN is a substitute for social. So for people that don't qualify for social security number can apply for an ITIN. And so by doing that, in order to apply for the ITIN, you have to file a tax return along with the ITIN application. And that's a process to get an ITIN for your dependents.
They have to file for it.
Yeah, they have to file the ITIN application goes along with the tax return to get the ITIN itself.
Okay. Okay, because I remember doing it and you have to have that document along with, yeah, in
Mhm,
order to
mhm,
get
mhm,
that.
mhm.
So is that clear? All right, another question is asked, is there an app that can be used to track your refund? Can you know that
Yeah,
anxiety when you
the
file?
IRS has an app, but the best way is for you to track it on the IRS website. You can just go to irs.gov and type in, you're gonna see refund tracker, and then it's gonna ask you for your social, the amount, your filing status, the year that you're filing for, and you can track your refund that way. And you also can do it for the state as well. If you're in a state that you're eligible for a state refund, you can go onto that state website. For instance, Georgia, you got Georgia Department of Revenue, or North Carolina Department of Revenue website, and you can just go track it on there.
Okay. All right. Any other question while he continues? All right, go ahead, Mr. Maxwell.
Yeah, so those are the two stuff that people get into where they don't understand the tax consequences behind it, and then they got a big shocker tax bill, that they're I have to explain. I've been explaining that their entire time. Most of the time when I have to explain those two type of stuff, that the health insurance and this Uber and Lyft situation. That's what I saw mostly so far. And then again, in terms of dependence, if you're from a tax-free country, when you're in your third and your fourth year, that's when you start be eligible to start claiming dependence. In the first 2 years, again, you're not gonna able to do all that stuff. It's only when you're in your third and your fourth year, then you can start filing as a regular U.S. citizen.
All right, I'm seeing another question that says, I keep getting follow-up letters from IRS to say they are still investigating my refund request. Read the treaty. Is this
Mhm.
common?
Yeah, and there's still Yeah, if you look on the letterhead, make sure it's coming from the IRS. If you're still concerned that it's not coming from the IRS, call the number that's on the letter or call your local IRS office and schedule an appointment to go talk to the local office. But it takes a while, right? You can imagine 350 million people filing tax returns, and they got a lot of amendment tax returns there to work on, and so it takes time sometimes to process all of those tax returns where they got to do investigation. And so for most people that does tax return with me, I will just tell them we want to make sure that they receive it, and then once they receive it, that's the best thing. We want to make sure that they receive it. They will get to it in due time, and just be patient. And if you're still concerned again that something may wrong, you can always call them, or you can always set up an appointment to go talk to somebody. But majority of the time, they just haven't gotten to it yet, or they're still working on it, or so you just have to be patient.
So does this happen on a regular basis in the sense that if I'm just filing and I did everything the correct way, would I be
Mhm.
have to be waiting on a letter from the IRS, or this
No,
happens if there's
no.
a mistake and they're correcting something?
Right. So for majority of people that file, they just get their refund within the 3 or 4 weeks time. And then you have some people where they get pulled for audit for some reason, right? And so IRS want to question something and they pulled it for audit, or something doesn't look right and they want to substantiate something. But again, majority of the people don't face this issue where they receive a letter or are subject to audit.
Okay. All right. I'm seeing another question. It says, would your dependents need social to file taxes for them in your fourth year?
Yes, everybody that has to be on a tax return, you're gonna need either a social or ITIN. There's no, but yeah, you can't file a tax return without either.
All right. So you must have a social or the ITIN
Yes.
in order to file. All right. So another question. I know someone who they did file and they have a child here and they have been doing filing for years and not getting any return for the child. As you know, some people would usually get a sum of money, but she may get like a $500 or even less. What do you think could cause that?
Again, there's so many stuff that could happen. Why she get back $500? So she has a child, but she only get back 500. There's like a multitude. I wouldn't know what to speculate. I would have to see the tax return to see like why they're getting back $500. But yeah, I couldn't speak on why they're getting back $500. There's so much variables that goes into tax return that I don't really even know how to answer that one, because again, there's so much different reason. But again, the child tax credit, again, that this is another thing that people miss too. There's a child tax credit for if a child is under 16. If you have a dependent that's under 16, there's a child tax credit, right? And so what a tax credit is, it helps to offset whatever potential tax that you have. So it's not $2,200 going back in your pocket. And people miss that all the time, because whenever I file a tax return and they have a child on there and they're getting back less than that $2,200, people always, that first stuff they always have, Mr. Maxwell, what happened? Why am I not getting it? So it's a child tax credit, meaning it's going to help to offset whatever taxes you owe. And if you don't owe any tax, right, then the maximum amount that can go in your pocket is $1,700. So don't think that because you have a child, you're gonna just automatically get by this $2,200 in your pocket. It does not. It does not work like that. So that's just a big misconception that people has sometimes. And another thing, not a myth out there too, but for people that don't understand taxes, they think that, oh, because I filed a tax return, automatically I'm going to get back $5,000, $6,000, $4,000 in taxes. No, it does not work like that, right? So it all depends on if you overpay your tax, right? If you overpay, especially for somebody that's single, right? Your tax return is very basic. You make money, we calculate what your taxes on that money. If you overpay your tax, you get back a refund. If you underpay your tax, you owe money. That's it. You don't automatically just get back $5,000, $6,000 in tax refund. It all depends on how much your tax was and how much you paid in, versus, sometimes you can overpay based on how you fill out your W-4 form. Sometimes people underpay based on how they fill out their W-4 form. So some two per person working the same amount of money can have different amount taken out of their taxes each month, and that's the reason why one get back a big refund versus the other one that does not get back anything or owe. So it just, there's a lot of variables that goes into the situation, right? But if you're from a tax treaty country, that shouldn't apply to you though, because whatever taxes was taken out, you're gonna get it back. If $2,000 were taken out throughout the year, you're gonna get back your $2,000. If 5,000 was taken out throughout the year, you're gonna get back your 5,000, right? But once you come out of that tax treaty special treatment and you start paying, and where you have to pay your fair share of tax, it all depends now on what your tax bracket is, how much tax you need to pay. Did you overpay your tax? If you overpay, you get back a refund. Did you underpay your tax? If you underpay, then you also owe tax, right? And so here's another misconception that people that doesn't understand tax. They think that, okay, for somebody that's single, that get back a big refund. Here's what happened when somebody get back a big refund when they're single. The district overtake out money out of their paycheck. So for instance, in a situation where their tax was $5,000 for the year, and the district end up taking out $8,000, they end up with a smaller paycheck throughout the year, right? Their paycheck was smaller by $3,000, only to get it back $3,000 at the end. If I were in their situation, I want the district to take out almost $5,000 out of my paycheck, so I have a bigger paycheck throughout the year, and then not get back a big refund at the end. But sometimes people think that, oh, why I didn't get back, I need to get back a big refund. If you want to get back a big refund, you're gonna have a smaller paycheck, because they're gonna have all of this tax that they're taking out of your paycheck. Your paycheck is gonna be smaller. You're not gonna be able to take care of your daily bills throughout the year, and then you end up getting back a big refund. Versus somebody that get a bigger paycheck throughout the year and then didn't get back a big refund. So refund is like the excessive money that was taken out of your paycheck. That's what that is. So when you end up with a big refund, it's because they excessively taken out money out of your paycheck, and so they're giving you back in the form of a refund. That's what a refund is. So for somebody that's single and end up with a big refund, that's not a good thing, right? That's not a good thing. That's because they took out too much. If I was single, I want to have a small refund. That tells me that, okay, the IRS didn't have all of my money in taxes, or the district didn't take up all of my money in taxes, send it to the IRS, only to give it back to me at the end of the year. So this is something that I have to let people understand sometimes too, when I'm doing the walkthrough with them.
All right, so I'm seeing a question. So please do not expect to get $5,000 and $10,000
Right.
when you did not overpay. Because
Right.
based on what I'm understanding, when you overpay taxes, then you'll get more. You'll get back some refund. But if
Right.
you underpay, believe me, I've been through it, guys. You don't want to go through it to hear that you owe $8,000. I've been there. All right. I'm seeing a question. They're asking, "What's your fees?" I did put in the chat your email address, Maxwell
Yeah.
underscore tax
Right.
2022 at yahoo.com.
Right. So for first year teachers, I charge a very small fee of $165. If you're a first year teacher, $165. And then if you're second and third, it's much more challenging to apply the tax treaty, then that goes up to $200. And then if you're like fourth and fifth, and then it all depends on the time spent. Because again, when you're in those years, you can do almost anything. You can file with your dependent, you can file jointly with your spouse. And so then you have people doing Uber, you have people doing Lyft, you have people have this insurance, you have people have investment and interest. And so people doing all type of different stuff. People have houses now, and people have business. And so, it just all depends on the time that's spent, then we charge.
Oh, okay. All right, somebody kindly asking everyone to like and share. Okay. Somebody's telling me to remember to like and share our page. Everybody, please remember to go on and like and share our page on our YouTube link when you log on. Please remember and share it with your friends. All right, I have a question here. Somebody says, but they text this question in. Anytime I file taxes, I do not receive my state taxes. The return letters keep saying that my W-2 has changed. What does that mean? And would I be able to file for those back taxes?
I'm not following that one. So when you file your tax return
Mm-hmm.
and you get your state tax, you filed state tax and you did not, were you supposed to get a refund on your state tax or did you owe tax on your state tax? I'm not following that one where she's saying that she filed her tax return but she didn't receive anything from the state.
Right. So she's saying anytime she filed taxes, her
Right.
tax, she does not receive any state tax. And
Okay.
I
Well,
do not
let's
receive
just
my
yes.
state taxes.
Okay,
So
so
is
let's just
it
stop right
that?
there. I don't even know whether or not if you're supposed to get back a refund from the state and you didn't get back a refund from the state. I'm not sure. So your best thing is for you to call the state to ask why you haven't received your refund if you're supposed to get a refund. Or you can track it on the state website to see what's the situation with it. But that would be my the best advisor for you to call them to see why you haven't received that refund.
So, yeah, so it's not a must that you get back state taxes, right?
Yes, no.
Oh, okay.
Similar to federal, state works the same. There's not a must that you're supposed to get back a state refund. If you
Okay, got
underpay
you.
your state tax, you're gonna owe state tax. If you overpay your state tax, then you get back a state refund. That's it. It works the same, just as how the federal works as well. So I don't even know if that person was eligible for a state refund in the first place. Maybe that's the reason why you didn't get back anything because you weren't eligible for a state refund. Maybe you're all on the state side too. You know, sometimes people owe on state, they get back a refund on the federal, or sometimes they get back owe on the federal, get back a refund on the state. Sometimes they owe on both and get so it all depends on the situation.
I'm always owing state taxes, and they send me a message to say I need to pay it. But when I was in the system, that is, when I
Right.
was teaching, and
And
I
so
used to
another
owe.
important thing is that form is called a W-4 form. That's one of the first form that you fill out when you do your onboarding with the sponsor or with the district that you're not aware of. It's a tax form that they throw in your onboard forms that you're filling out. And so that form is called W-4. And it tells the district how much tax to take out of your paycheck. So if you don't fill that form out correctly, you're not gonna if you don't fill that form out correctly, what's gonna happen is you're gonna underpay your tax, and then that's gonna help. That's gonna cause you to owe tax, right? So you want to make sure when you fill that form out, make sure you pay attention to that form, or you can always get a new one from the district and fill it out to make sure it's done correctly. You get one to fill out from the federal, and you get also one to fill out on the state if you're in a state that does um, income tax withholding.
Oh, okay. Well, guys, any more questions? I just need to know if there's anyone else who you may have another question to ask. Remember, we are in the season and you don't want to get your taxes all messed up. You want to make sure that you are filing with the right people because if you don't file with the right people, at the end of the day, it's going to show that you owe money to the government and you don't want to do that. All
Right.
right. Anything else you want to inform us about, Mr. Maxwell?
I think that's it. You guys are in the season. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. My number is 813-449-0118, or you can email me. I think the email
All
is
right.
in my email is in the chat. You
So
can
that's
always reach.
813. Let me repeat that. 813-449-0118.
Yes, 813-449-0118. Yes, correct.
All right. So I just put that in the chat for you guys that you can take his number and his email is in it as well. So you want to make sure that you reach out to Mr. Maxwell. I've been getting some good reports because some of my teachers and all of my teachers who have filed with him reach out to me and let me know that they have filed with him, and I've been getting some very good reports. So I am supporting him. I'm endorsing him as one of those persons who file the teachers that we bring into the country taxes. And so you would want to make sure that you reach out to him. We communicate, and if you have any problems, you can let me know. All right, guys. So no more questions, and we were just going to talk about taxes this afternoon. And so I want to let you know that next week on our live, we'll be having a teacher who's going to come and share with us her experience that she has, or experiences that she has been having in the district that where she's working. So you want to make sure that you log on to our live next week, share with your friends, let them know that we will be on live next week, Sunday afternoon. And just in case you want a time that is better for you to log on, reach out to me. Let me know that you'd prefer for us to be on at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. It is better for you. Just let me know and we'll try to adjust the time for you. Guys, we have come to the end of this live. And if Mr. Maxwell has nothing else to say and you have no more questions, we are going to end our live at this time. One more time, let me tell you that we are coming to you from Step by Step Consultancy, a recruiting agency. We recruit international teachers and we place them in classrooms here in the United States. And so we are in the season. We are presently recruiting and we are presently placing teachers. We are placing teachers in Tucson. We are placing teachers in, where are we again? In Florida. We have so many different states right now that we are placing teachers. So if you need to reach out to me, please do, or to any member of my team, send us an email, and I put the email in the chat as well, and it's running across the screen as well. Our email address is info@stepbystepconsultancy.org, or you can call us at 601-630-7735. Thank you so much. We are here to support you, and whatever your needs are, we are here to help you with that. Please remember to follow us on our Facebook page, our Instagram page, Lincoln. We are there for you, and we are also on YouTube. God bless you, and thank you so much, Mr. Maxwell, for coming on this afternoon. We appreciate you sharing with us and preparing us for this tax season. God bless you. Bye bye for now, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, have a good afternoon, everybody. Bye bye.